Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this conference call for The Logic. I'm going to wait for you all to get into the room here as I see the number ticking up on the number of attendees we have before we start. In the interim, just want to welcome you. My name is David Scott. I'm the CEO and Editor-in-Chief of The Logic, a small business, and that's an interesting point to make that I don't normally make, but today we are sitting down with the Small Business Minister for the Government of Canada, Mary Ng. I want to first just quickly tell you a little bit about The Logic. For those of you who are not subscribers, we are a news publication that started 2 years ago, focused on Canada's transformation from a resource economy to a knowledge-based economy. We've been covering extensively COVID-19 from the perspective of small business, as well as from this perspective of the economic situation more broadly. Our sponsor for today's event that we're so grateful to have is Wave. I will tell you that it's a company designed by and for entrepreneurs. When I was sitting on my couch thinking about how I was going to start a new business, the first thing I did was sign up for an accounting platform to help me get through that. And Wave was absolutely instrumental in helping me get my finances right. I wouldn't have them as a sponsor and as a partner if I didn't believe in the product. And so I'm grateful that they came on board. Also to say they have a terrific bookkeeping service, which was helpful when we couldn't afford a bookkeeper. With that, I want to welcome Mary Ng, the Canada's Minister of Small Business, Export Promotion and International Trade, to this conference call. And I quickly just want to, before we go to the Minister, highlight some of the things that I know you all have questions about, just give a snapshot of where we are in terms of the federal government benefits. So far, if you look at the main ones that are relevant to this discussion, the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, so far of the $35 billion budgeted, 28.57 has been paid out, and there have been 7.5 million applicants as of May 5th. The Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, the one where there's 75% of salaries up to $58,000, it's a $73 billion program, no figures yet, and I will ask the Minister where we are on that, because some of you were expecting those checks to come into your bank account as early as yesterday. The Canada Emergency Business Account, $40,000 loans through financial institutions. As of May 5th, 545,000 approved applicants for a total of $20.7 billion of the $25 billion allocated for that program. And the other ones are the commercial rent assistance. No money has gone out yet. And the BCAP, the business credit, which just started on a bank-by-bank basis. The big numbers for today are the jobless numbers. And I'll ask Minister Ng about that, but I know she has some opening remarks that she wanted to talk about before we ask about the jobless numbers. Welcome, Minister.
Well, David, it's really great to be here and really great to be with everyone who has joined today. I know that there are hundreds of entrepreneurs and business owners that are here, so it's really good to be talking to you. And, and I want, to thank The Logic again, of course, for putting this together and for always being able to share really good content in the businesses of the transformational or the new economy, and that's really, really great. And maybe I'll start where you just left off, David, and that is on the jobless numbers. Of course, they were published this morning, and these numbers are not just numbers. They really do represent a Canadian worker and their family. And these are Canadians who across the country need support. And these job numbers demonstrate just how difficult COVID-19 has been for Canadians, for families, for businesses. And this is a reminder that we need to continue to do everything we can to make sure that people and businesses are getting the support to get through this difficult period. And we're going to do that. We have been doing it. We're going to endeavor to do that, continue to do that in the weeks and months to come. And we're going to stay very committed to Canadians and our Canadian businesses. We've all been asked as Canadians to do something quite extraordinary to flatten the curve in this country, and we have made progress. We need to be very careful not to lose that progress. And I won't repeat what David, has already talked about in terms of the programs that we have put out, the support that we have put out, so that businesses through this period are able to manage. And that bridge during this time is there for you until we are, until we are able to cross to the other side into restart when it's safe to do so, and businesses are able to sort of resume as they will, contributing to our communities and to our economy. Conversations like this are really important because I have made it a commitment. It's always been my way of working, and certainly that of my department, which is to stay very close to businesses and to listen to businesses very intently, so that we understand the needs and therefore the supports that need to be put in place to assist you, and in sort of in large sort of in bucket terms, if you will. We heard that businesses needed some help to make sure that they kept their employees, and that's what we did with the wage subsidy program, and over 100,000 businesses have subscribed to that program. Some businesses should start to see funds deposited, as early as yesterday. I don't have an update on that as yet, but will. But we know that upwards of 100,000 businesses have already have applied, and they should start seeing those funds very shortly if they haven't already. The other thing we heard from businesses, of course, is to help manage the operating costs. You all have them. And to make sure that you have access to capital and funding and operating funds during this time was really important for the smaller businesses. $40,000 in interest-free loans with $10,000 of that forgivable if you're able to pay it back by the end of 2022. And those numbers, David, you're right. It's just a little over that, over the number that you just described. I think it's closer to $600,000 now, 600,000 businesses now. So these are over 500,000 businesses that are getting that sort of direct, operating funding support to help them weather through this period, to pay for those operating expenses. And the commercial rent assistance program, we expect it'll be operational somewhere around the middle of March. But just a reminder to everyone that it covers April, May, and June's rent, 75% to small businesses whose rent is under $50,000. So that is to come. And for high growth businesses where some of these programs may not have, worked exactly. And this is what you've heard from the government. This is what you've seen from the government. I mean, the job was to make sure that we got the supports out as quickly as we could in this very extraordinary time, in this difficult time. We didn't want Canadians to have to worry about things like, how am I going to feed myself? How am I going to make sure I have a roof over my head? Which is why we did, which is why the Canada Emergency Response if it went out quickly, and why we added to the Canada Child Benefit to help families, why we decreased or sort of deferred the GST and the GST, HST, and customs duties, just to give you a size and scope of what that means. I mean, that's just that one initiative of deferring GST, HST, and customs duties. It'll help about a little over 3 million businesses, and it's equivalent to a $30 billion interest-free loan. So, so making sure that these measures went out quickly, but also adapt as we were hearing from businesses, which is really important. So the Industrial Research Assistance Program, or what most people know as IRAP, applications have come in for those in the thousands to help those high-growth businesses who may not have been able to get, the supports through the other programs. And Futurepreneur as well, helping our young entrepreneurs, many of whom, are those entrepreneurs that are, that are building businesses, in the digital economy and in the new economy. So support that way. And we're just going to have to keep doing this work together. I think it's really important that we do that. BDC, by the way, also has provided support to companies that have already raised $500,000 in venture capital, so that they are, adding capital there, and they're continuing to explore ways of being able to provide additional support to angel capital as well. So a range of supports, and I'm not going to spend sort of more time sort of going through those. Happy to take questions on that. And of course, as the Minister for International Trade, making sure that Canada continues to take the leadership to ensure that vital supply chains for medical equipment, for agricultural products, for essential goods and services continue to flow between borders. Really important that those critical supply chains maintain open, and therefore doing the work that I am with my G20 counterparts and other countries to ensure that these supply chains remain open. So maybe with that, I will stop and we can get into a conversation. Yeah, there you go.
That's great. So I'm going to do some rapid fire questions here because there are some really pressing questions that we've been getting, and then I'm hoping I'll keep you tight. So please, I apologize in advance if I have to interrupt you. First one, May 15th is fast approaching. Eviction notices are being posted on doors. We've seen them. Landlords aren't voluntarily applying for this benefit. What assurances can you give small business owners that this will be addressed? And are you surprised? I know the provinces have a role to play in all of this. Are you surprised that the provinces haven't taken any measures yet to address this gap in the program?
Well, we've been working closely with the provinces and territories, and we have to, because this is an area of responsibility that we respect. It's in provincial jurisdiction. This is no different than how we've heard from businesses all the way along. So I am listening very intently, and I've been speaking to businesses very intently. This program was designed so that it would work for landlords as well as for the businesses. The landlords I've talked to certainly don't want to see their premises vacant. So I would encourage those landlords to take advantage of this. We're going to also make it, just as we have with other programs, easy for you to access, so that you know that you will get that 50% guaranteed by the federal and the provincial government. And that as long as you pass on the 75% reduction to your tenant, you've got that 50%, and your tenant will provide the other 25. So it really does work for the landlord. So I'm going to make an appeal for that. And I also want businesses to know that, like everything else we've been doing, we've been listening to our businesses, and we will adapt and make the changes if necessary.
So we know, right, they aren't using it, respectfully. The landlords are not taking advantage of it. And so an appeal is nice, but what are there guarantees? Other countries have taken dramatic steps to say, you cannot have a moratorium on evictions. Is there anything else that the government can do to shift the playing field in favor of the businesses a little bit more than the landlords?
Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to continue to work with the provinces on this, and you've got our commitment in doing that, and also with our small businesses. The objective here in all of our measures is to help our businesses, to save as many businesses as possible, to save as many jobs as possible, to help you bridge through this period that is very difficult, so that businesses are intact. I mean, before COVID-19, Canada's economy was strong, our job growth numbers were good, unemployment was low. So we started from a good place, and we need to help that support of businesses during this period, so that when it's safe on those restarts, our businesses have a much better opportunity for that restart. So you have my commitment to keep working very intently on this.
Great. On April 21st, you spoke at the Canadian Club and talked about how big a priority it was making sure businesses could apply or could qualify for the CEBA loan if they paid people on contract. So barbershops, gyms, tattoo parlors, also family businesses. Mm-hmm. It's 2 weeks have gone by, and there still, to date, hasn't been any changes on those qualifications. Why is that proving so difficult to do?
Well, it is. I certainly have heard a lot from businesses, and I understand the urgency. But I also know that for you, words don't really, aren't going to help you. You need us to make sure we are making progress on that. I want to assure you that we are working very intently on this, very, very intently on this. And as I said at the Canadian Club, and I'll say that here today, that we hope to be able to share with you sort of. A better solution, I guess, if you will. But know that I am absolutely working with high priority on this.
How are you preparing for what happens after June? Will these programs continue? Can we afford them to continue? I know you've been in putting out fire mode, and it's I'm sure everybody would not hold that against the government, but we're naturally running up the till and thinking about, okay, after June. Where are you in that process in terms of next steps?
Well, we are working on it, and I want to assure businesses, of course, we are. I mean, the Prime Minister and the premiers of the territories and the provinces, now it would be a little over a week ago, of course, committed to a set of principles for the restarting of the economy. COVID-19 is experienced differently in different parts of the country, so of course you can expect that the activity may be different, but the underlying principle of making sure that we are following the advice of public health, we don't lose the progress that we have made in flattening this curve and ensuring people stay safe is of course our priority. And the approach we've taken all the way along, and it continues now, it is listening and working with businesses. My department, for example, has been doing a call with over 1,000 businesses every single day, including those organizations that represent businesses. So we are understanding the needs of and what supports we will need to continue to work on to support businesses in this period and into the future. So that work is underway.
So if you were a small business today and you're thinking, okay, should I reopen or not, knowing whether the wage subsidy will continue or not, there's no, is there any commitment or sense of direction that you can give them on what to do in July?
Well, I know that July is very close around the corner, but at the same time, July also is not tomorrow either. And I understand that for businesses, one of the most important things for business is to have the predictability and certainty so that they can indeed plan. So we are very much working on this, and just know that the principles that have guided the government has come from you, which is, let us help support our businesses through this difficult time. And we're guided by public health. So of course, we're going to have to think through and work with you to make sure that, that you are supported during this period. We've always said, when we are able to keep our businesses and their employees together, recovery has a better chance of success, because your employees and your businesses are together. We want to make sure that workers have that stability, if they will, to know that they have a job to return to when it is safe for the companies to open up. So know that we're working on this, and we'll have more to say about that, in due course, but not too long from now.
Minister, on April 27th, the Globe and Mail reported that there was some grumbling from within your department about finance's unwillingness to move faster or more broadly at the outset. How would you describe your relationship with other departments? And as honest as you can possibly be, understanding cabinet privilege, but what's been the biggest challenge of working specifically with finance officials who are kind of on the other end of the till, right? If you were a small business being in government, you have your CFO and you have your product officer or your CEO, and I kind of view the finance department has traditionally been the CFO. So how has that relationship been, and how do you get what you need or what you're hearing businesses need through finance?
Yeah, of course. I mean, let me assure everyone, this is a whole of government approach, and we, just like you work in your executive management team, companies are excellent and they perform when the executive team works together and performs. And that is exactly how I work with my colleagues. The finance minister and our departments work that way because we must work that way in the interest of Canadians. And, I would say that the most challenging thing is the challenge that faces all of us, which is the speed to which we've got to get this out and the urgency to which we need to make sure that the supports get out to Canadians and to people. If I take you back, and it's hard to imagine that it's only just about a month and a half, but it only has been about a month and a half, we needed to make sure that Canadians had what they needed to flatten this curve, to stay home, to be able to self-isolate, to be able to look after their kids, look after their parents, if they're taking care of elderly parents, all of those things. I mean, and the finance minister absolutely leading the charge to make sure that those supports on behalf of our government, has gone out. And the nature of how we work is no different than the nature of how you would work, on your teams. we put the best ideas forward. We listen to the people who matter to us, which are Canadians and Canadian businesses, in my case, small businesses, and those that are operating internationally. And we come up with solutions, and we roll up our sleeves and we get to the work. And our systems are big. But if you take a look at what we have done, and I have to give a shout out to those public servants who, often it's easy for people, to sort of, to lay criticism, but to be able to process in record speed the assistance for Canadians in the orders of millions and millions in the case of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, to be able to work with the financial institutions in this country to put up a structure that allows them to distribute, hundreds of thousands of loans into our small business owners, and to be able to process, the wage subsidy. I mean, this is not insurmountable work. So I feel humbled and privileged to be able to represent people to do the job that I get to do right now. But I can tell you, I certainly can't do it without my colleagues. I certainly can't do it without the work of our respective departments, and that's how we've been working, and that's how we'll continue working through this. It's going to take all of us. The Prime Minister often talks about a Team Canada approach, and it really is that, and it must be that. And Canadians expect that of us, and we're going to do our very best always.
You mentioned BDC earlier, and it falls within your mandate. The Crown Corp has been described as a bank, a VC, a government agency, and even a consulting firm. What is BDC's role, and do you share some of the concerns of critics who are saying that BDC is stretched in too many directions at the moment, and in its support of different programs?
Well, the Business Development Bank of Canada, I mean, is I think all of those things that you just described. I mean, they have products that act as a lending facility for businesses who need loans. They act as supporting venture capital to be able to create sort of the government in that allows for follow-on, investment capital in the area of venture capital. Absolutely, with clients providing the kind of advisory and connective services so that our entrepreneurs and our businesses are getting the best out of their services. And right now in this. For the pandemic, it is servicing their clients at a high quality, but also BDC as well as Export Development Canada serves as sort of the government's guarantee facility to the financial institutions and the banks and the credit unions to make sure that we are standing up the significant liquidity that we have put out, that the government has put out into the marketplace, and to enable that kind of lending and that kind of additional support. So important, an important institution, important work that needs to be done. And listen, just as we do across government, we always have to welcome the perspectives and the experiences that come from businesses, that come from entrepreneurs. So we will always listen to to what we're doing right, but to suggestions for where we can improve and what we need to, consider in terms of how to meet the needs of businesses. It's what we need to do. It's what we commit to do, listening to businesses, working with them, and trying to find solutions that really will and must be able to help through this difficult period.
The BDC matching program that you mentioned, of whatever VCs could raise, do you know if any funds have been allocated in that program yet, or any companies that BDC has invested in?
There are. I just don't have the details, so I'm very happy to come back to you, David, on that. I don't have it top of mind, but very happy to return and get that to you a little later.
Great. We have the VCAP and the Vicky funds. Is that enough? Do you see more direct investment needed in the venture capital space?
Well, we've done a lot in the venture capital space, and it was necessary because, the reports of many years ago absolutely showed that Canada's venture capital marketplace wasn't strong enough to support the investments that were needed in innovation, and of course, this government has certainly made incredible investments to help companies start up, to help them scale up, and to help them grow into those international markets by scaling up. And we have invested significantly in where some of those very ideas, that do indeed get commercialized in the many uh, companies that that go from research into into application, and the application of entrepreneurialism that actually creates these great new companies. And venture capital is really important. It's an important lever. A necessary lever. I mean, to capitalize these incredible companies that need that kind of risk capital. So we have done significant placement of that, of venture capital to create an environment that created much needed, but also incredibly successful follow-on funds that are providing the risk capital that is necessary to help accelerate, to start, but also to significantly accelerate companies in clean tech, for example, in advanced manufacturing, in digital, in artificial intelligence. So areas where Canada has an incredible, where we are incredibly excellent. I mean, you're seeing the 5 superclusters demonstrate the kind of synergies that is taking place between where the ideas merge with incredible entrepreneurialism and the business acumen that then comes into a supply chain that allows for the scaling of those businesses. So is there more work to be done? Always. But have we made progress? Absolutely. I mean, we absolutely are firing. We're firing on all cylinders.
Minister, we only have time for one more question. So I wonder if I just step back and ask a more broad question. Shopify, which started as a small business, designing snowboards for websites or designing a store for snowboards, this week became the most valued Canadian company. What is the government learning from your response to the small business efforts that may inform the larger industry, bigger relief plans that could be or will be most likely forthcoming in the next couple of months?
Well, Shopify is an incredible example of a Canadian enterprise that has grown from a small to, and I don't need to tell everyone because everyone can read. I mean, the enormous success, but it's exactly companies like that in that growth journey that this government has been investing in. Not long ago, we invested in an integrated market in called the Can Health Network. And what is it? It is a significant procurement capability of the largest of medical procurement, health tech, med tech procurement through this important network that is going to give the opportunity for adoption of Canadian-made technologies to allow for scale-up in Canada and to allow for that kind of absolute growth, and I hope exponential growth. This is the kind of investment that we have been making, and I think that there are opportunities to do integrated markets like this in other verticals as well. And we're going to continue to work with our businesses and to continue to support the growth of our incredible Canadian innovative companies, so that we are going to see those successes in scaling up and in scaling up and creating the incredible jobs, helping contribute to the economies and the local economies, the local communities. Shopify is a really good example of that, and the work of this government, has been building the building blocks to start companies, to scale them up, and to put the right supports and systems and public policy around, so that we are going to be able to grow these incredible Canadian companies.
Minister, grateful that you took the time, and I hope we can do it again. And certainly, I think one of the questions that's coming through from a lot of people is, what's going to happen after July? And it sounds like you're still working on that, but there may be more coming soon. Mm-hmm. And we'll certainly be watching. But really appreciate your commitment to public service and your time today. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, David. And I think if they take one thing away from this call, just know that the government is here working alongside with you, and we are going to do everything we possibly can to help that to make sure that you are supported during this difficult period. So just keep staying tuned.
Thank you. Before we all go, I want to give a quick shout out again to Wave for being a partner with us on this conversation, which is a really, really important conversation for all of us. And Wave is a company, like Shopify, designed by and for entrepreneurs, and a deep desire to support those business owners. And their software can help you as it helped us. And apparently, I'm told they are hiring at the moment. So for all of you looking right now in these difficult times, please check out Wave. Thanks, everybody, for your time. And we'll keep you posted of other events.
Great.
Thanks again.
Thanks so much.